there, Lindsay here, the Frugal Crafter. It is Sat Chat time. I am filming this on Friday. It is 2:46 in the afternoon, and I'm feeling tired today. It feels late. It feels like it could be 6 o'clock at night. The weather has changed. School has started, and it seems, I don't know what it is about school starting, but the weather in Maine always seems to turn crisp at that point. And actually today it's just kind of like cool and damp. But it's I don't know what it is about that change of seasons from summer to fall that just is tiring. I just feel tired. I feel just maybe that's it. Maybe I just feel kind of like depressed because the seasons are changing. I needed to eke out just a little bit more summer, so I just finished this up this morning. So I get that out without knocking anything down. There's going to be a tutorial for this on Sunday, and it's not going to be a time lapse. It's actually going to be edited down, but it's going to be real time. And this is some mixed media paper. I'm not sure, I think it's pretty new. I'm not sure if many stores have it yet, but I'm doing a collaboration with Hermit, the paper company. I really like their paper. I'm just going to turn this down a bit so you can see what the pad looks like. It's bamboo mixed media paper, and it's got a nice tooth to it. And I was curious to see, it almost feels like a watercolor paper, like a cold pressed watercolor paper, but not quite as textured, maybe a little bit more like the soft press that Fabriano does. But it's got a nice sizing to it. It's got a little bit of a crispiness to it. It worked really well with watercolor. I'll show you. I wanted to see if it would work with alcohol markers. I didn't know if it would. So I went right into the alcohol markers first, because I figured, well, if I mess it up, then I haven't invested that much in this project. I really liked it with the alcohol markers. It did bleed through. That's the back. But my favorite popsicle here is this one I did with the alcohol markers. And then over here I did this with, and it has some colored pencil on top. And then this is watercolor with some colored pencil on top. And the middle one is just colored pencil. And it was just a dream. It was a dream to work on this paper. So I'm going to play with it some more. But I will have a tutorial on this, just kind of showing you the process of building up these different products on mixed media paper in case you have some and maybe you haven't used it very much. It's a really fun product. I've used mixed media paper from other companies too, so if you have some in your stash, obviously use what you have first, but if you're looking for some, if you like that sort of paper, I'm so far really liking that Hermit bamboo mixed media paper. I will link, if I can't find any place selling it down below, I'll link to Hermit's website so you can look and read about it and at least be informed, because sometimes it takes a while for stuff to hit store shelves. I've been working with Hermit for a couple of years. They're very generous with sending me things to give to my students when I do in-person workshops, when the world is, open and not full of a pandemic. And they're just they seem to be very interested in what artists think about their products. And I've been using their watercolor paper, the Cezanne watercolor paper, more than Arches, because Arches has gotten harder to find and more expensive, and the Cezanne is just very reliable, and I like the amount of sizing in it. So if you've liked Arches and you've had a hard time finding it, or it's gotten out of your price range, see if you can find Cezanne locally, and you might be able to save some money. I bet if you live in Europe, Germany specifically, you'd be able to find some better prices on that. And I don't know how it works out in other countries. I know in some countries things that are expensive in America are very inexpensive, and vice versa. So it's nice to have a good variety of papers that I can recommend. So if somebody lives somewhere else, they can find a more accessible option for them. And the other neat thing about that project was I was using my Speer Farben pencils that I purchased. I've been wanting those pencils for a couple of years, but they still were kind of in the budget range, but they were more expensive than a lot of the other budget pencils. And I'm like, I don't know. Don't know if I want to get another budget set of pencils, but I've been curious. I'd had many requests for reviews of that pencil, and then on Prime Day, the only time I've ever seen them go on sale, they went on sale. So I grabbed a set, and this was my first time using them, and I actually might swatch these. I've been kind of like, nope, no more swatching pencils. I'm not doing it anymore. I kind of put my foot down a couple weeks ago, and I'm like, well, I might actually want to swatch these, because one thing I realized, I was using odorless mineral spirits with them on this middle one here to kind of get that base layer and then go over it with more pencils. And then when I was doing the drips on the watercolor one, I was shading with a pencil, and then I went in with just water just to see, and it was moving the pigment. So I think those might be very water reactive. The other reason that makes me think that is I was using some Posca pen on the top of all of these, and when I was on top of the purple one especially, it kept the colors below kept leaching up into the Posca pen. So I let it dry and went back over with another layer, and they just kept leaching up. So I think that they're very water reactive pencil, but they don't feel like a watercolor pencil. They do feel very smooth and like layerable. Not so much blendable as layerable, which is generally not a technique that I usually prefer. A blendable versus layerable technique, because I tend to work quicker with colored pencils. I'm not as patient as a lot of the proper color pencil artists out there, but these I was really enjoying, and I liked how they worked with my other media. So this might be kind of like a wonderful set for me to have in my like a kind of a to-go mixed media, or if I'm going to I don't know, going somewhere where I don't want to risk losing something more expensive, I can take those because they're you know, they're more expensive than other budget sets. I think the set of 96 that I bought, I think I paid around 30 or 32, and I think the regular price is like 47, somewhere around there. So, so expensive for a budget pencil, but very good for a budget pencil. So we'll have to see. And I'm going to compare them against my Cezanne pencils that I really like from Jerry's Autorama, because I think they look very similar, but I don't know if they're the same. I'm going to compare them though, because there are a lot of very similar ones, and the Jerry's Artorama ones often will go on sale for $40 for 120, and this is 96. I paid like 30. I'm thinking 32. Maybe it was a little bit more with tax. Maybe it was 36 with tax. That doesn't make sense. $4 tax on 30. That doesn't make sense. But I don't know. Somewhere in that range. I went a little wild on Prime Day this year. I think because I've never like had Prime during Prime Day before, and yeah, I was on a free trial of Prime, and I decided this is too dangerous. I cannot continue to have this thing because it makes it too easy. You have to justify having it, you know. Yeah, I'm going to compare them because the Creative Mark by Jerry's go on sale a lot, so they're a better value generally if they're the same. And I haven't used them enough to tell, but so far I really like them. I'll link those down below too if you want to see them. This piece, I didn't know how long this was taking. I enjoyed creating this so much. I think it was just like, I need a last blast of summer because this week has been chilly and my son's moved out, and that's kind of been a little bit, I don't know, I'm happy for him, but I'm also kind of like bummed out for me and Jason and the family because we have one less now in our house. And then the girls have gone back to school, and it's actually a real school year. They are at school each day. They started, actually they just started yesterday for an actual school day. They went in to volunteer on Wednesday, and they had band camp last week. So, you know, it's been kind of like a slow transition into the school year, but still it's like, okay, this definitely is feeling very empty around here after a pandemic when everybody was home all the time. So it's just a bit of an adjustment. But anyways, back to this. So I didn't want to time lapse it. Well, there's a couple of reasons too, because a couple times I forgot to turn the camera on because I did this in so many little sessions. So I'm like, well, if I time lapse it, then it's going to be like, you know, there's going to be some abrupt, like, when did she do that, you know? But if it was edited meaningfully, then it would make more sense. So, but then I thought it would be a really great teachable lesson to show the differences when you're doing mixed media, how you can use markers for base, or you can use watercolors for base, or you could just use the pencils on their own, and, you know, show you how to get very similar looks. I mean, they do all look a little different, but to get similar looks from different supplies, so that if you're at home and you're like, I love that tutorial, but I have markers, I don't have watercolors. Or I love that marker tutorial, but I have watercolors, I don't have markers. Or I only have colored pencils, but I really would like to do something like that, just to give that sort of kind of 3 different ways to do the same thing, I guess. So anyways, Jason goes, Lindsay, do you have any idea how much footage you have here? I'm like, I have no idea. I've been like, you know, just having fun doing this project. And he goes, just guess. And so I'm like, well, because I'm thinking, I was watching the show Big Sky on Hulu, because I wasn't narrating it, I was just coloring it and letting the camera roll. And I don't know, I watched a lot of episodes of Big Sky. Highly recommend it. I like it. If you like Twin Peaks and Once Upon a Time and Ozark, it's like a mashup of those shows, I think. But I've been enjoying it. The first episode I thought was really kind of cringy and kind of like over dramatized and soap opera-ish, but after I got into it, I was like, you know, this is fun, I'm enjoying it. It's a drama. It's like a crime drama with beautiful scenery. Anyway, so I'm like, 3 hours? And he goes, 3 hours and 39 minutes. So, just for disclosure, that took me 3 hours and 39 minutes. It's not like I just slap it on and there we go. I think sometimes it's difficult to ascertain how long somebody spent on an artwork if you're watching a YouTuber create something, you're watching a video that's like 20 minutes long, and then you're looking at what you create in 20 minutes, you're like, oh man, you know, I'll never be that fast. It's like, well, neither are they, so don't worry about it. So yes, so TV recommendations, if you like to binge watch things or binge listen, I listen to things, I kind of glance up, I listen and glance up. Some shows that I've enjoyed watching these last couple of weeks: Nine Perfect Strangers on Hulu. You can't binge watch it yet because they're recently releasing them once a week, so they've got like probably the first 5 or 6 episodes up. I'm really enjoying that show. It's a mystery. I just recently watched a series. It was I guess I call it a mini series. It was called The Sister, and that was also on Hulu. And it was very suspenseful, very kind of like a suspenseful ghost story type thing. And Big Sky, that was good. I think there was something else I just recently watched I really liked. I was very sad when it was done. But apparently, it's not that memorable because it's not coming to mind. Maybe I mentioned it in the past, but it's not coming to mind now. But anyway, I like to have like a series going when I'm like working on things because I can kind of glance up and follow the story. I guess it's probably kind of like how people used to like soap operas because they would put it on and, you know, putter around and, you know, do their thing while they're, you know, got something on. My mom used to knit and watch soap operas when I was a kid. So, you know, those are just, I don't know, something to entertain you while you are doing something else. Like probably Sat Chat is something you're probably, you know, having this on while you are vacuuming or washing dishes or something like that. I totally get that. I think for me it's kind of also company. I've always liked having the TV on because it's kind of like company. Just having that conversation in the background, I find it very comforting. But anyway, so I've been after Jackson moved out, it was like Thursday, and I took him grocery shopping, and then I bought not one, friends, but 2 different kinds of Oreos. Oreos are vegan, by the way. Isn't that a lovely surprise? If you're vegan, you didn't know that. Now, you know, you probably wish I never told you that. But, so I got the mint kind, mint Oreos, man, those are good. They remind me of Thin Mints from Girl Scout cookies. And then I got the peanut butter Oreos, which remind me of peanut butter patties. And I think those are both superior to normal Oreos, but I'm the only one that thinks that in the household. Everybody likes the original Oreos better. But I don't know. I'm not a big fan of the cream filling of Oreos. I would rather just have the cookies, like the cookies without the cream. So having the mint or the peanut butter, the peanut butter is my favorite, I find that to be much nicer. So Friday, I had way too many Oreos, and I think there were some potato chips involved, and also a bottle of wine was opened. So then I was like, oh no, this is not a good trend. But then on the flip side of that, I also felt compelled to clean and organize things. And apparently so did Jason. So I think this must be some natural event if somebody moves out of the house that you have to you have to compulsively just keep yourself busy cleaning and organizing. So what did I work on? Oh yeah, I was just going through the house and scrubbing things down and washing floors and scrubbing cabinets, and oh man, the top of the fridge. So I was getting the juicer out because after the junk food day, I'm like, I have got to put things right. I've got to my sister giving me some beets from her garden, and I didn't really know what to do with beets. Nobody's a real big beet fan, so I'm like, oh, I'm going to do beet juice. And so I got out the old juice man, which it's not that efficient. I don't know if it's because we've had it for so long, it's lost efficiency, but it's very loud. You kind of have to hang on to it, and it shakes the life out of you as you're making the juice. But so I made some beet, carrot, apple. I used up a bunch of stuff. We had some apples that I bought at the grocery store, and they were local apples, and I don't think they keep as long. I think they probably don't they probably irradiate a lot of apples that you buy that are not during the fall, that aren't local. They must do something because they stay firm a lot longer. So anyways, these had gotten kind of soft, and I think they were early max or something, so they were a little tangy. I like a tangy apple. So I did beets, apples, carrots, lemon. I did some mandarins because citrus does not seem to get eaten very quickly here, especially if it's off season. So I'm just there. It's pretty sweet. They tasted pretty good, but I'm going to put them in the juice because I don't think we'll get through them. And what else? Carrots. I had some carrots from my sister's garden too that I put in there, and the juice was great. I did put mandarin and lemon wedges on all the glasses, so could add a little bit of zest to them. That was really good juice. I really liked it. So we keep the juicer in those tiny little cupboards over the fridge, the ones that you never need to get to. So that's where you put the pasta maker, the the spaghetti spiralizer, the juicer. That's where all your appliances go to die. And when like I might have an urge to make juice again in my life, so I'm gonna put the juicer up there. So anyway, so I went up to get the juicer and I looked at the top of the refrigerator. I don't know when the last time that had been cleaned, but it was furry. It was furry dust. It was so disgusting. Oh my word. I'm like, I cannot exist knowing that the top of the refrigerator looks like this. Apparently, I've just been ignoring it for the past, I don't know how long. It has to have been like over a year because of the amount of like just dust. It was nasty. So, so I got out one of these. I have this, I've had this for years. It's this little container my mother gave me once, and it was from Palmolive, and I don't think they make them anymore, but they were these dishcloths that came with dish soap in them. They were like disposable dishcloths, like you're supposed to use them every day and throw them away. So of course I thought that was pretty wasteful, so I didn't use them unless I had a really nasty job to do. So I will use them when I do my spring cleaning on the porch, and I'm like washing all of the railings and the ballast, and like, because they get all this gunk, I don't know from what, but they get like pollen and dust and gunk and grime and like the hummingbird feeder juice droppings, they just get gross. So I will use that because then I'll rinse it out a few times. I'll get the whole porch washed and then I throw it away. So I use one of those babies for pass number 1 on the top of the refrigerator. It's so gross. And that rinsed that out probably 5 times and, scrubbed that down as well as I could. It still was not enough. Then I got out the awesome spray from Dollar Tree that I really like. Use that undiluted on there, let it sit for a bit. And then I went in with these plastic razor blades. Oh, I have some here too. This is what they look like. I just used the blade without the blade holder. These things are great. They're by Gripper. And I don't know where these came from. My parents have this, have a hardware store, and they have this bargain room where it's a lot of stuff that, like, say if you had a store and you had a truckload of stuff coming in, but maybe you went out of business or you refused to load, like, people will bid on those, and then they can, if they have like surplus or salvage operations like Martin's, they can like buy it up and then just sell it. And I think this came in one of those things, but man, that is so great because I could scrape the grime off of the tops of the refrigerator doors and the top of the refrigerator without damaging the paint. So so then I scraped it down. Oh my word. It took a full half an hour to degrime the top of the refrigerator. But man, I felt great after that was done. It's like, whew, glad that's done. How have I been sleeping with that? And I'm not like, a neat freak or anything, but I was just kind of like just compelled. I'm like, I must clean, I must do this. And today Jason had taken everything out of the liquor cabinet because we're not big drinkers. So we have like booze up in the cupboard from like 20 years ago, over 20 years ago. We bought the house in 99. We have stuff that we brought in from our apartments and we're still sitting up there. I think there was like a thing of brandy from like, I think what it was so I was young and broke and had like no health insurance, or maybe I had health insurance, but it was like total junk. And I think I had strep throat or pneumonia or something. And I'm like, I am not wasting hundreds of dollars going to the doctor. So I went to Rite Aid and bought some brandy. And I'm like, that's will kill anything. Except it was so nasty that I think after one sip, I'm like, I can't drink this. It's too gross. Oh my word. Like, the comical, like, somebody takes a sip of whiskey and they're like, yeah. So that was up there. And of course, this had been opened. It was, I guess like booze and stuff will keep if you've never opened it, but it's all been opened. So there was a big culling and I felt really sad. And I didn't feel sad because I was a big drinker and it was going to waste, or that I'd spent money on it and it was going to waste. I mean, obviously nobody likes that, but I felt sad because I wanted to be the person that had the cocktail parties and who was the hostess with the mostest. And like when I was in college, my dorm room was the hangout room. Everyone hung out. I had, I wasn't of age, so I had coffee. Coffee maker was always going. I always had many different flavors of coffee and like different, syrups to put in it and stuff. And, we all just hung out in my dorm room, and my apartment was like that. Of course I lived in Bangor, so I was more centralized to where all my friends would live. Even if they lived in the country or out with their parents or, they were in the outskirts and whatnot, everyone goes through Bangor for everything. So my apartment was kind of the hangout place. And I thought, well, when I have a house, it'll be the hangout place. And I guess when the kids were little, it kind of was because, especially when the twins came along, I I joined a twins group and I became friends with a lot more moms that had twins and stayed at home because childcare costs were so high. So you'd have to have a really good paying job to make it worthwhile to go to work and then pay for more than one little child in daycare. So we had a higher proportion of stay-at-home moms in that group. And so, we hung out at my place quite a bit. But it's like, I rarely have people over now. I mean, obviously we're in a pandemic, but even before that, it's not like I was having cocktail parties or dinner parties or bridge night or anything like that. I mean, occasionally we have a craft night, but I only have a few friends that craft, and apparently I am just like a antisocial hermit who doesn't drink very much. I'm a teetotaling antisocial hermit who lives in the country. So yeah, that was a little sad. So I'm like, oh, fantasy Lindsay throws cocktail parties and is fabulous, and reality Lindsay is, a lame hermit who doesn't do anything. Oh, can't be bothered to go out and can't be bothered to have people over, apparently. What a shame. It's such a shame. So anyway, so he dealt with that. He was dumping booze down the sink. I'm like, well, that's probably going to clean some drains out. I'll give the pipes a good cleaning, I'm sure. Oh man. So if those can go, get the bottle deposits for those, and that'll be good. So we'll have space in the cupboard, because also in that cupboard, that's a cupboard over the stove where we would keep the booze, is also where we'd have like cooking oils and vinegars, balsamic vinegars, things like that we use all the time, that we're always like having to shove things out of the way when we try to put like a new vinegar up there, because there's all the booze that we don't drink up there. So yeah, that. And then also on the other side of that wall, that's the, room of hoard is on the other side of that wall. Other side of that wall is the exercise graveyard. And that's where we have like the inversion table and the treadmill. And to be fair, we got the treadmill before we got married, and so we used it to get in shape for the wedding, and then I got pregnant a few months after that, so then I used the treadmill to stay in shape and then get back in shape after the baby, and I used it very regularly till we had Hazel, our first dog, and then she needed to be walked every day, so I would rarely use a treadmill. I usually just walk her, and then after we lost her, treadmill again, because basically if I'm walking, I just as soon throw a show on my phone and just like have that entertain me while I am exercising, because I'm not like, I don't love to exercise. But then with Penny is a super energetic dog, so she needs lots of walking, several miles a day. So I don't use a treadmill now, but the kids do. So it's nice to have it kind of set up pretty well, but it was getting very crowded. We have old TV and stereo equipment and all that junk from Fantasy Us, which now the stereo has been hooked up. New speaker wire was purchased, and the stereo is now, rocking on. So like, I guess our pre-children fantasy selves are coming out a little bit, going back to some stereo equipment, getting rid of the booze though, and well, maybe we'll be healthier, healthier. Well, I don't know. I've always been pretty healthy. Yeah, we'll be less cluttered, healthier adults. I don't know. So I think it's just this natural compulsion after kids leave the nest that you just want to like clean things. I don't know. What else is new? Oh, I did a card this week. So I was really playing with the Winsor Newton watercolor markers. So they've rebranded those. They are now called Winsor Newton Pro Marker watercolor markers. So if you love the old Winsor Newton watercolor markers and you're afraid that they discontinued them, they haven't. They just rebranded them under the Pro Marker line. And they used to be made in France, and now they're made in China, but I did compare them side by side, the new ones to the old ones, and I don't think they've lost any quality. I do think maybe some quality control, because I did have one nib that was damaged, pretty badly damaged, but I think it's probably just some mechanical, I don't know, a cap must have been forcefully put on, but not lined up when it was like put on. I don't know if a machine did that or what, but there was an issue with that, and I did let them know, I let my rep know at Winsor Newton that was an issue. I was able to pull off the end, pull out the nib and reseat it, so it was, still a little damaged, but I could use it. Not a big deal, but I was really liking those markers, and I like the old ones too, but I think I was a little precious with them because I'm like, well, they're going to run out and they were expensive. And so I did this leaf with them, and then I realized I used way too much ink and I overworked it, and that's a fall leaf I picked up on my walk because it's fall now in Maine apparently. And then I just kind of doodled around on this portrait, and actually I was watching Big Sky, so I was thinking, I think this kind of looks like the girl from Big Sky. I wasn't looking at her to draw it, but I was watching the show while I was drawing it. And then a couple just from reference photos I took on my phone, and just kind of getting the hang of those markers, and I really like them. And then I did post a tutorial this week, real time, on the thistle. Now, what I want to say, if you want to do like the cards, I have a tutorial for the card and for the thistle, and also another technique with them, which I've shown you before, it's just the direct to rubber coloring. If you want to do them, try your paper and try the water-based markers you have already, because you probably have something that will work. If you have, you know, if you have like your, you know, your Tombos or whatever, sometimes because the Winsor Newton watercolor markers are a watercolor pigment, they're actually watercolor rather than like a water-based ink, they seem to not want to soak in the paper quite as quickly, so you have a little more blending time. But as long as your paper has a good sizing on it, then you should be able to do those techniques with the watercolor markers you have, or the water-based markers you have, even if they're not quote-unquote true watercolor. You might just want to work a little quicker. So after you put your marks down, you might want to then grab your water brush and blend them out, versus like getting all your marks down and then going in and trying to dilute them, because they may have a little bit of, they might have stained the paper a little bit. But I found that Arch's watercolor paper worked really well. Fabriano Hot Press Studio watercolor paper worked really well, and that's kind of a steal of a deal, because it's 25% cotton. It's the hot press. I don't know if the cold press wood is quite as heavily sized as the hot press. I do have some, but I haven't used them with markers because I was stamping with that, so I needed that smoother surface. That worked really well, and that's quite affordable. And I think when they do a hot press paper, because they actually roll it under heated rollers to really iron it flat, I think that also kind of seals that tooth a little bit and makes the paint a little bit easier to lift. That's my theory anyway. I don't know. There's so many different brands of hot press paper, and different companies use different amounts of internal and external sizing, so it's can't really say a blanket statement on that. But for that, the Fabriano Studio hot press, highly recommend. It's acid free. Obviously, it's only 25% cotton, so over time, eventually, you know, even acid free papers could deteriorate a bit, because they do contain lignins. They do contain a wood pulp, I guess, which I don't know why. Cotton is a plant, so it's funny why that would be archival, and things that come from trees or other plants aren't necessarily. But I don't know, they're gonna last my lifetime anyway, and beyond that, good luck to you, friends. Sorry about your luck if that disintegrates. If I'm dead, you know, I think that, you know, they get a lifetime guarantee. My lifetime, not yours. I don't know. Oh my gosh. I don't know if it's the lighting or if it's fall. I just feel like I look really washed out today. I probably do. I don't have quite as much eye makeup as I usually use, because I was just not giving my some, friends. Today I'm giving my some. I'm a little tired. It's cold. And long sleeves. I didn't even bother to put like earrings or a necklace on today. I'm just like, yep, giving my some. I still got a big mess to clean from my my popsicle project. And yeah, it's been a weird week. It's been a weird week with one fewer kiddo in the house. Although he did come back yesterday to have supper and to do some laundry, so that was good. We shall see how this goes. And then next year, the girls will be graduated high school and off to college. And friends, I hope you are still around, because I'm going to need you guys to be comforting me and picking me up off the floor, because I'll be a puddle. I'll be a mess. I am sure of it. But on that note, boy, what a downer, Lindsay. On that note, I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I hope you find some time to be creative. I'm going to try. So I hope you do too. And we'll see you in the comments down below. Let me know what's going on in your life. I know I didn't have too much exciting to talk about this week, but that's how it goes sometimes. Thank you so much for watching. Until next time, happy crafting. Bye.